Hello, it is Tag Tuesday, and there are many booktubers that have already done this tag for the first half of the year, and so I am going to jump on the bandwagon too and do the mid year freakout tag. And that is where you talk about the books that impacted you for good or bad the first half of the year. And so um, let's get started. The first question is, what is the best book that you've read so far this year? And I have three. I have more than three five-star reads, but these three really, really impacted me. And the first one, this was my first fiction of the year that I read with Lisa, and this is River Sing Me Home by Eleanor Shearer. This was a Good Morning America book club pick several years ago, and this was fantastic. I highly recommend it. I think historical fiction is definitely my thing. Then Fatal Invention by Dorothy Roberts. This is my second five-star read by Dorothy Roberts. I highly recommend this Fatal Invention. It's how science, politics, and big business recreate race in the 21st century. I read this with Lukash, and we both really enjoyed it. Dorothy Roberts, she writes those books where you have to reread at some point. It's just so much information in it. And then Night Flyer by Taya Miles. I had the privilege of meeting Taya Miles at the National Book Festival last year, and she signed my book. She is a fantastic writer, and I am going to dive into her backlist because, unbeknownst to me, she has many books that I had no idea about. So, but this was great. The subtitle is Harriet Tubman and the Faith Dreams of a Free People. So I highly recommend that. The second question, what is the best sequel you've read so far this year? I have not read any sequels this year. The number three, what is a new release that you haven't read but want to? So Bill and I just finished reading a book about Civil War spies that were women. And we learned a lot, especially me. I mean, Bill is a history teacher, so he knew quite a bit of it, but the book was just so fantastic. So I noticed that recently a book came out called Lincoln's Lady Spy Master by Jerry Willis. And the subtitle is The Untold Story of the Abolitionist Southern Belle Who Helped Win the Civil War. It came out on June the 3rd. And it's about the life of Elizabeth Van Lew. And she lived in my hometown. So I even looked up, what street she lived on. And then, they changed the house into a school. And it's fascinating. So I'm interested in reading this book, Lincoln's Lady Spy Master by Jerry Willis. Okay, number four. What is the most anticipated release of the second half of the year? And I found out about this particular book on Dee Dee's channel, Brown Girl Reading. She has a copy of this particular book, but it's not coming out here in the States until September the 30th, and that is Black History Every Day of the Year by David Olusoga. And Dee Dee and I read Black and British by the same author and really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to this particular book coming out by the same author. Okay, question number 5. What is the biggest disappointment of the year so far? And I would have to say the book, The Wretched of the Earth. I DNF'd that, a couple of weeks ago, I believe. I DNF'd it. And I might go back to it at some point, but I have to do some research and learn some things before I read it because I was just completely lost. Lukash, my buddy reader, he finished the book and did a review on it, but yeah, it was not what I expected, whatever that was. So that was the disappointment so far. Number 6, what's the biggest surprise of the first half of the year? And I would have to say Night Flyer by Taya Miles. It was a real surprise. Okay, number 7. Who is your favorite new author? And that would be Eleanor Shearer. I am looking forward to what else is to come for this author. But she's definitely up there for historical fiction for me. What is your newest fictional crush? I don't have a fictional crush. I am not a big fiction reader. I'm getting better, but no, I don't have a fictional crush. Number 9, who is your newest favorite character? So I read a book called The Girl with the Louding Voice by Abi Dari, and I read it as a library book, so I don't have a copy. And it centers around a character. Her name is Oduni, and she's a 14-year-old Nigerian girl. And this book was fantastic. I read this with Natalie, and we absolutely loved the book. I think I loved it a little more than she did. But this was a debut novel, and I just thought this was just fantastic for being a debut novel. Loved it. Okay, number 10. What is a book that made you cry so far this year? No, I didn't cry in any of my books. I've cried over books before in the past, but not this year, not yet. Okay, number 11. Name a book that made you happy. Okay, so this is Suffering is Never for Nothing. I talked about this in a previous video by Elizabeth Elliot. And I buddy read this with Rachel. And this is a Christian book. Elizabeth Elliot has so many books, and so she did the series of sermons on suffering as a Christian, and going through suffering and how to handle it, and just on and on and on. She did on cassette tapes decades ago, and so someone turned those cassette tapes into a book, and so I read this with Rachel, and we absolutely loved it. The book was fantastic. One of those books that, you just keep on your shelf to revisit. Rachel and I, we just talked about the book and talked about our experiences, and it was fantastic. So I recommend that if you're into that kind of thing. But yes, that book made me happy. Okay, that was number 11. So number 12. What is the most beautiful cover? A book with the most beautiful cover this year that I've read. And that would be this children's book. It's called The History of We by Nicholas Smith. And the artwork is fantastic. You guys know that I read children's books. And so the cover is beautiful. The inside is beautiful. So I do recommend that. And question 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I want to say over a month ago, a publicist sent me a few books, and I need to pick up the pace a little bit. I'm reading one currently right now, but I need to get to this one. It is quite the chunker, so I really need to get started on this. And this is The First and Last King of Haiti, The Rise and Fall of Henry Christophe by Marlene L. Dott. So I'm looking forward to this, and I have to finish this within the next couple of months, I would say. And so that's the mid-year freakout tag. If you are a booktuber and you have not done the tag, then please do. We want to know what you have enjoyed so that we can continue to add to our TBR, of course. So thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.